Analyst Talia alongside it. Remember, G2 given their loss did get side selection remaining on the red side.
Sticking to it. Poppy, Talia, you already highlighted. Yunara, Sion. It seems like the bans are staying pretty consistent. Rumble was the final ban for G2. So
Let's
need to
see,
see.
very
Trundle,
high priority now.
The other champion that Top Esports chose to ban in Game 1. So small adaptations now that we've seen the initial 10 champions removed, courtesy of the Fearless Draft.
Oh, okay, so Zyban could indicate that Top Esports is thinking about a Vi.
Yeah, and they probably want to just do another dive comp.
Probably.
If you're banning that.
I mean, if you can
dive.
If you can run away with the early game again, no doubt dive is an easy way to close this second game out. G2, of course, this is the moment where the G2 fans say, hey, look, you were bad. Time to break that bad. Time to cook. Show us something new.
Step number 1, don't give over the Azir after everything's already been fearless.
Rumble is now open.
But Rumble is now open. Perhaps they feel they have better answers into that particular champion. Of course, Mundo, one of the picks that is good against double AP.
You
but
mentioned this earlier.
Yeah, he is undefeated in his career. Kanavi is
Korea. Just a double check. Korea.
Yeah. And, well, you know, his 5 games on it have been played this year.
No.
Okay,
cut that out. It goes way harder if you just say his entire career. Ignore the fact that this champion has only jungled for the past, what, year and a half? Now locked in, though. And this is where it starts to get scary for G2, because you mentioned it, Kanavi, an absolute lethal threat with this. Rumble is still up and available, but we know, Vedi, Rumble is not the bread and butter of Broken Blade. It's been one of the #1 criticisms against this guy, as he isn't someone who plays Rumble. And luckily for him, Jace has fallen out of the meta, but that was the other one that people often talked about.
Kanavi could do the funniest thing if Caps locks in Ryze. I'm not expecting it, but looks to be that is the direction that Caps is going to go. So with the Ryze locked in, it gives G2 a little bit more side lane threat, which they did not have in Game 1. I wonder what they'll consider pairing alongside it. We've seen Pantheon come through. SkewMond does prefer those more scaling type of junglers, a little bit more sit back and farm.
Yeah, personally, when I have to play against Qiyana, I like people that invade the Qiyana, because Qiyana's first clear, it's very, very susceptible to invades. Mundo probably not going to do that though. Maybe they'll do a level 1 where they can
flex though.
They could get it's definitely a flex, and maybe they'll do a level 1 where they can get priority. But that is sometimes where you can like push Qiyana around a little bit, is in the early invades, because she does get fairly low. But most Qiyana players are pretty used to that now.
Certainly are, of course. With Mundo locked in, you highlighted Vedius. It is a flex pick for both SkewMond and Broken Blade, perhaps waiting to see what will get locked in on the top side. Of course, good into the Rumble, good into MR champions or AP champions generally, so kind of almost a preemptive counter pick if they do want to put it there. However, it does mean giving over to TES pick of the litter when it comes to top-tier champions. We're in a situation where this is what I would have been scared of in Game 1, and they won Game 1, and now they're doing it in Game 2.
As a longtime Clutch Gaming fan, I love Qiyana Rumble. This combination is explosive. So,
hey, we let you into the West at the start of the cast. You're going to need to calm down with the niche references a little bit, brother.
Fair enough. It's not going to be the Aurora lock-in just yet for Creme, and they're going to go for the Alistar pretty early here instead. And it is a bit safer with the Braum already out.
Exactly. Question is, what can G2 now go for? Do they want to lock in their support? So this is going to be their answer to the Rumble. So the Flex is going to disappear. Yeah. Their Galio going to be secured for Broken Blade, means that, well, G2 definitely have a tanky front line, but Top Esports, they have a lot of damage. I guess they were hesitant to lock in the Aurora because they didn't necessarily want a heavy index in AP, but by securing the Alistar, they guarantee themselves at the very least some form of frontline and engage.
And I do like how there's multiple like semi-globals here for G2, Realm Warp and Galio, and Mundo is a very strong scaling front line that can eventually get to the point where you can just walk straight at them and try and mark those very dangerous, slippery, low health members on the opponent team. So they're building something, I feel like, better, with more options at least than the first time around.
Yeah, and in Game 2, champions like powered by Omen and HyperX, it definitely feels like G2 are more on the right course. Clearly, TES very aware that they don't want to give away any AD carries with some mobility, some safety. Of course, the Rumble Qiyana Dream is kind of immobile backline threats. The Ryze doesn't have a dash, but he goes pretty quick most of the time, usually can get out of those scenarios.
Do they care about like Ezreal? Well, the G2 care about Ezreal. That one's already off the table.
I feel like that could have been a 4 pick.
I feel like the Caitlyn ban makes a lot of sense because G2 right now are building very much a backline safe type of AD carry. The question is, what does Top Esports think that G2 is going to go for, because Hans Summer, he's been very traditional in the AD carry sense recently. We haven't seen any of his Draven at all this year. He's been playing a lot more Ezreal, which they ban out themselves. So that Draven ban, like, it is a respect ban to Hans, but I'm a little surprised to see it just because it's not something that G2 has really practiced or played at all this year.
I feel like TS are just saying, you know what? As long as G2 doesn't have lanes that are going to push heavily on us, like in multiple areas, they feel really comfortable in their own early game. So taking out a Caitlyn, taking out a Draven, some of the more aggressive options.
I think Sivir could be good for G2. It would give them a lot of wave clear. It would give them the ability to have push in the bot side of the map.
Instead, Bard is going to be the lock-in here. Rumble, of course, relatively immobile. Qiyana, absolutely not. Sivir as an answer.
This is that was the thing I was concerned about. If you don't pick the Sivir here, you just leave it open for JackeyLove. And I feel like it kind of gives a lot of what Top Esports doesn't necessarily have, which is an easy way to control mid-wave. So now, JackeyLove, when he moves out of bot and into mid, he has a ton of wave clear, and it's very easy for the rest of his team to roam around.
It's the angle here. I was baited by the hovers. I was curious about the Morgana.
I mean, yeah, Morgana solo lane did get some buffs, but not really the game for it looking like this time around.
Uh-oh. Yone, incredibly AD-heavy composition, high tabby value, but a lot of engage, a lot of backline threat again for Top Esports. It seems like this dive comp formula is one that they're happy to repeat.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as they 1, 2, 3 ban out the Xayah, where they're just going to keep on going dive. The dive really worked. What is Hans Summer going to play that has some safety?
You can see in the player cam, it feels like he's going through options, a face of confusion. Is this the right choice?
It's like, how do I live?
Lucian,
I don't like this.
Full disclosure, this man has not gotten his international Lucian license. Very few people in the West have. Now, if there was ever a game to change it, this is one. But this is a champ that we've seen, even if it gets small lane advantages, even if it's okay at one item, a lot of teams really struggle to work. It's not just about the Lucian. Everyone on the team has to be ready to play around this pick.
I really didn't like the prioritization of the Bard, especially with the Sivir open, who now with the spell shield has just a really nice time into the Bard. You're also just... I do think it gives you early lane pressure in the 2 versus 2 because Lucian Bard, at the very least, the double range means that you can bully out the Alistar. But once Sivir gets a few levels, that wave clear is not really going to be too perturbed by what this Lucian Bard brings. And I'm also just concerned, like, Lucian is inherently quite short-ranged. And while, of course, there are a number of champions on G2 side that want to just kind of run at Top Esports, I feel like you don't necessarily want to make it easier for a Yone and a Qiyana to threaten you on the back line. I feel like G2 is kind of caught as to what to go for on the bot side of the Rift, and I think Top Esports should be very happy. They've got so much teamfight power. They have easy ways to play around their lanes. I think Kanavi has great options. And yeah, I think this is a great game for Top Esports for Hung and Kanavi to really take over the Rift.
G2 are clearly in a very defensive mindset. You know, drafting like the Galio counter engage and the Bard, counter engage for themselves as well. But where's the attack? Where's the, the threat actually going to come from here? If you're looking down this G2 side, are you really scared of any of these points if you're looking at from the point of view of TES? I mean, maybe the Ryze mid, maybe Bard goes, roams mid a lot, and they are able to work off some Ryze pushing mid.
It's a good question, Kobe. But my question is, have people at home got their drops? Because remember to log into your Riot account on lolesports.com. No one's going to kill each other in the first 30 seconds. Hopefully I don't cast a curse that. So if you're watching Worlds, you can watch live to earn exclusive Worlds emotes, icons, and capsules. Check it out. Get some free stuff. And if you're an EU fan, it might ease the suffering of that first game and transition to you into a very optimistic game 2. Although with this Lucian, I think we are still left scratching our heads.
I do like this kind of aggressive level 1 positioning for G2. They see the defensive ward go down, and they have a sweeper. So at the very least, they can get a tiny gold lead. They're ahead. Boom.
For me, a lot of this game is going to come down to how much presence Caps can have on the map. He is a player that typically does like to roam. Domestically, we often said that Jojo was the best laner in Europe, but Caps was the one that just always had the best map presence. The fact that he was always finding good angles to impact at the lanes, and he's going to be very capable of doing that on the Ryze. This time, though, Hans and Labrov need to have a better 2v2 bot lane.
Excellent stun on the Cosmic Binding, making things Pretty solid early on. Of course, JackeyLove really just focused on clearing out that wave. Alistar level 1 notoriously weak. Bard level 1 pretty dang strong. It's been hit a lot over the years with nerfs, but you have the passive, you have the Q. You can do some decent damage on a JackeyLove as Labrov just keeps landing these stuns, forces the flash out from JackeyLove.
Okay, there's my answer. I'm scared of the bottom lane because...
Guys, I love Lucian. Like that. What a great
Honestly,
pick.
yeah, great call. But I was sorry, sir. I wasn't familiar with your game. I didn't know that Q would hit. That hitbox seems a little crazy, but we'll bring that up in a different series.
Yeah, who's issuing these licenses? G2, they get 3 sums for 1, and they send Jackie back to base. All he can buy is a refillable potion.
He doesn't have TP this time around. Hans was already forced back early on, level 2, level 3 in that game 1. G2 off to a much better start.
Oh,
and Labrov
nice.
is going to make it even worse.
This is so good because they did the level 1 and they had the vision. They knew that Kanavi is clearing up towards top side, so they could just straight proxy Jackie to level 1. You're going to stay level 1, buddy.
JackeyLove has to be
Lost
frustrated.
everything. He lost it
Level
all.
3 from Labrov. Can't sidestep as the initial Q connects. Hansama only level 2. Is able to proc the press the attack. JackeyLove so damn low. SkewMond starting to walk down. TES imprisoned under this bot lane tower. If they go anywhere else, they will fall. And if they leave, they will fall
Jackie
even
needs level
further
2.
behind. JackeyLove desperately needs access to the spell shield, but it looks like SkewMond might just start to walk him down. Knockup is there, but again, Labrov 3 for 3 on the bindings. Hong though clutch as he fires back.
Ooh, G2 barely get out alive with the other 2 members. Mid though.
Caps caught out, procs the phase rush, starts to run, will be able to make it away. Hung on the way in to try to finish off the run. Q, flash, slowed down. SkewMond getting a little bit more damage. Down goes Hong. He wanted to turn it back, but G2 find another.
We wanted to see a better early game from G2. Well, this is a damn sight better than compared to game 1. Kanavi trying to do something in the middle lane, trying to put pressure on the Caps. He walks that off as chaos ensues in the bottom lane.
And then Hong has an embarrassing play right there going for Labrov, who has flash up. Got to keep track of these cooldowns here. And so the bottom lane for G2 massively accelerated, including the Mundo here. The famed triple ruby crystal buy. Huge.
What was crazy about that bottom lane play as well was I thought that Hong's knock-up onto 2 was going to be the difference maker because G2 would have had to tank an extra tower shot. But it was SkewMond that ended up tanking the tower. He then got punted out by Hong, which means that the tower aggro reset, ultimately allowing Hong to get that kill onto Hansama. But still, look at that CS discrepancy between the 280 carries. 33-7.
And Sivir might have wave clear, but that hinges on her having money. And right now, she is very broke as Labrov continues to be a thorn in the side of TES, laying down early vision with the control wards. Luckily for the TES bottom lane, Kanavi is here to cover, but he hasn't canceled the recall yet. JackeyLove only at level 2. And this is one of the things about Lucian, right? This is why we saw him as a mid laner or a solo laner. If he builds these individual leads, he's just another mobile champion that can dive, that can force and push these advantages.
Kanavi's here for the counter, but Caps is coming down. This would be a 4-person move from G2. SkewMond in the river.
That's all of his abilities. They see Caps now. Able to make it out. Extra bit of movement speed coming through to keep him safe. TES still imprisoned under that bottom lane tower, and it's Q for SkewMond to start up the Drake.
This is just so big for G2 game plan here. They can play all their resources down to the bottom side. You want to leave the Galio isolated versus Rumble anyway. You just continue to stack dragons, have Ryze constantly hovering to gank on bottom side, and SkewMond keep on clearing from top side down to bottom side here, scaling up on the Mundo as well. Plus, this also gives your Bard so many extra roam timers.
And I think a collective sigh of relief from the G2 fans and maybe one of anxiety from the TES fans, because remember that game 1 was a stomp from start to finish. I do not think there was a single moment where G2 were in control, and game 2, just a couple minutes in, already swinging heavily in the favor of G2 Esports with this game 2 draft. We had questions about the Bard. Well, I'm running out of questions, and JackeyLove's running out of health.
A nice play there as the TP will come through from Hong to quickly get back to the safe, or come back to help his AD carry. JackeyLove only just now cresting to level 4. Hansama close to level 6. These levels are so valuable in the early game, and that's only made worse by the fact that there's a pickaxe in Hansama's inventory.
This is the first time I will maybe have seen a bot lane Lucian cull a level 4 Sivir, which is terrifying for TES.
And I mean, if you go all the way back, Hansama, his main criticism used to be that he could only play aggressive AD carries.
Sure.
Like, Lucian, Draven were kind of his go-to champions right at the start of his career because lane dominance was what he was all about. But Top Esports looking to finally answer. They brought 369 down to the bottom lane. They want to try and alleviate some of this pressure. The wave is in a good spot for him to catch as well. But I imagine G2 is going to match that swap and then look to contest the grubs.
Already have begun as the resets come through. Additional bit of speed coming in from the portal courtesy of Labrov as Hansama sprints to the top side. Happy to have that isolated 1v1. The pickaxe, a massive difference, as is almost 1.5 levels of XP in the favor of Hans. And you highlighted it so well. Aggressive at the start, and then in recent years criticized for passivity, for being a passenger often when other G2 players were carrying. But that hasn't been the story in 2025. Hans, a player who has stepped up alongside the rookie lineup, but now looking at Labrov, Craps in Labrov, not going to be able to find the root initially. I said Craps on accident. It happened. It happened. I don't want to talk.
I was like, hey, he hasn't done anything bad yet.
Well, don't make me talk about the
maybe that was.
What did you call Gumayushi, Kobe? Should we bring that one back up?
You know,
It happens.
That was a nickname of endearment, you know? Honestly, though, G2 progressed the game plan pretty smoothly here as SkewMond level 6 on Mundo just farming away. And with the extra grubs as well, you know, he got second Skeletal Crab, so he got that extra leverage over Kanavi. Then getting the grubs as well is just so nice for this champ.
G2. Happy to have all 3 Void Grubs. And again, TES, we saw what a dive comp looks like when you get these big leads early on. But obviously when you fall behind, it gets a little bit more difficult. You can't be as liberal with those cooldowns. You really need to be hitting these multi-man equalizers. You need to be connecting the Fate sealed from Creme. Now in the mid lane, they've managed to connect an initial bit of CC, but Caps, again, just making the most out of the phase rush. They don't find the initial knockup or lockdown. So hard for TES to finish the kill.
Does cost Caps his flash, but he's just going to have to play a little bit more defensively. Look on the minimap, though, moving into that fog of war. He does this often to try and exude that map pressure. SkewMond is hovering around, and this time it's not fake pressure. He has the ulti available. He's been spotted.
Cap spotted JackeyLove on the run. Now realizes there's really nowhere for him to go. The last bastion of safety. TP not quite there for Creme. TP not quite there for 369 as the Colin comes out onto JackeyLove, getting lower and lower. The heal already popped. Cap's waiting off to the side. SkewMond tanking the tower, and the TPs are now coming in. That's the feat of warfare for G2. And the portal out! A flawless heist on the top side. The equalizer. Too damn late.
369 waves goodbye to them as G2 mission accomplished. Tower dive successful and early game won.
Broken Blade moved from bot lane into mid. Kanavi working with Creme to try and find a pick, and they will get the flash out from Broken Blade. So a small win for Top Esports, but we look back at this dive, and I mean, it's just a numbers advantage. The level difference is too much. JackeyLove takes so much damage initially from the culling alone, and then SkewMond gets one, throws the briefcase to close that case file as he gets away to safety. And now we return back to live as Caps has found Hung.
Straying way too far forward. Thought he had an angle. Thought G2 were resetting, but punished for his hubris.
Putting him out to pasture. Where's Hung going? Trying to get solo vision? Kanavi had finished Krugs down there. That was a solo mission from Hung. Definitely a rough one from him this game. So much of a better look from G2. Clearly they came into this one with a laid out early game plan, and they have executed on that game plan straight from level 1. I would say, even if you cooked up this game plan, though, it probably went even better than they expected, being able to zone Jackie so much.
Proxying at level 2, I don't think was part of the initial plan. I
mean, we were skeptical. I especially said, like, I didn't like this Lucian pick, but, like a large part of it, a whole part of it is you need to be leveraging your early push in the bot 2v2. And after game 1, where Hansama just straight up got bodied by JackeyLove in the matchup, to come in game 2, brush that one off, and then have a performance like this, a massive glow up for this G2 bot lane. They're continuing that pressure. Level 8 Hansama to level 6 JackeyLove. He's being completely zoned away from the farm.
And you can see they're committed to taking Jackie out of this game. They've ignored topside in 369 entirely. They're happy to give him isolated gold as long as they can take it away from JackeyLove.
Yeah, this is something that G2's doing a lot this game. They are constantly committing 4 members to one side of the map. Broken Blade moves into mid to catch the wave. And as you highlighted, Drakos, they're just allowing 369 that solo farm. He's building a lead of his own, but the rest of the map is going all the way of G2.
Committed into going into Broken Blade. That's the fate sealed for the follow-up. A lot of time wasted here. They do get Broken Blade, but Labrov moving up as well. TES finally finding an angle to strike back. At the very least, 369 also going to grab some plates.
Yeah, I like that. From the position that TES were in, they know we cannot continue to fight into this G2 strength where they keep on attacking JackeyLove's lane. So they just sacrifice it. Okay, fine, you get the bottom tower, you know, you're gonna get the first turret, but they make the play mid while simultaneously getting some value on top lane, as you say, 4-3-6-9. So this is TES trying to make the best of a bad situation, and then it allows Jackie to try and clean up the minions that were pushed in the long lane bottom.
And I think holding onto this mid lane tower is so important for TES. Yone, melee champion, would like a bit more time before he goes out to the side lane. Jackie really cannot hold Hans. If they lose this mid lane tier 1, Labrov is going to have a field day, moving around the map, threatening with his tempered fate.
I mean, he's moving around the map very comfortably right now. Labrov and Hansam are turning their attention to the top lane. There's more plates for them to secure. They're going to share those alongside Caps. As the mid wave gets cleared out, TP going to committed from Creme back to mid. Broken Blade is just kind of the unfortunate side effect to Top Esports, as you highlighted earlier, Kobe. They're kind of attacking him, doing what they can to get something back out on the Rift. And 369 is still the player I'm keeping my eyes on, alongside Creme, who not only had a great game 1, but is continuing to stay at scale. Blade of the Ruin King now finished for Yone. We know this is a big power spike on this champ.
Top side fight. Set up there from the side of G2, they have Tempered Fate, the Culling, Realm Warp. SkewMond as well with the maximum dosage, likely unkillable. He does not go under tower, but Kanavi hovering, lingering in the darkness. Ulti available for him as well. TES playing on the defensive, playing on the back foot. I think just trying to minimize the losses, stem the bleeding as much as they can. You highlighted it before, though. Broken Blade still suffering in that isolated 1v1 as Creme knows that there's pressure on him to build a greater advantage.
Yeah, exactly. You know, Broken Blade rushing into the MR for the Rumble matchup, but Creme here with his Blade of the Ruin King will melt through a Galio with no armor. So definitely the ideal side lane for TES in a world where the side lanes are going to be dangerous for them this time around. Since G2 have the threat of the Realm Warp and the Bard, they're going to constantly be pressuring TES. TS's ability to control any of these side lane minion waves, and so Creme is going to have to be very careful with the pressure that he does exert.
Let's see how both teams approach this Herald. Spawning in 40 seconds. It's Caps and Hansama once again grouping up in the mid lane to contest that push. Bot lane has been completely abandoned. SkewMond is in the area. They're now going to go and send Caps to go and catch that wave as Hansama pushes this one in. JackeyLove will still have his wave clear, even though he is still very far behind. But it's all in setup and preparation for that top side. I will say that bot vision has kind of been littered across the map from Labrov. He's got great deep wards everywhere on the map.
Kanavi on the flank, though. Hansama caught out for a brief moment. Creme finds him isolated, and Hard reads the play. Hansama, name changing to Dr. Seuss after that one. Creme demolishes him.
Oh, Kanavi ultimate wraps around and hits them both. 2 quick kills for TES, and they get the shutdown as well. Creme gets paid.
And this, Yone, is now becoming a problem for G2. They had a great start to this game, but taking out Hansama gives a nice window for JackeyLove to get some much-needed XP here in Game 2.
Wow, that was just such a masterful play here for TS. Perfect timing for them to punish G2 and delete the gold lead almost instantly.
Remember that Broken Blade has kind of been sacrificed in this game. Hansama and Labrov don't expect Kanavi in the river. An early flash from Labrov, a fantastic read from Creme. The combination of the 2 ultimates from Kanavi and Creme working wonders as they get a big shutdown onto this Lucian.
And we know how crucial Kanavi is for this team's early game. It was a bit quiet. The map fell apart too soon, but even despite that, he and Creme have found a way back in this game. Only 500 gold now separating this team. And Kanavi, of course, on this Qiyana. There's a reason teams take it away, and G2 learning that firsthand.
And all the money, you know, going into Creme is exactly where they want it to be able to funnel into this Yone and have some huge threat. Dragon, though, stacking is still available for G2. They're starting it out very quickly. Broken Blade walking over. Galio ultimate ready.
Eyes on Hansama and the Culling. The most fed, individually powerful member of this G2 lineup. He has to perform in the fight. It's the flank for Broken Blade for now. 369. The ulti combo is real from TES if they can find the angle. Kanavi moving forward, Hung getting chunked out. Taunt off to the side. Kanavi uses ult. It's the drag down for TES. They no longer with the fight. They want to get out. Quick bait sealed from TES, but now the realm warp in. G2 moving forward. The suitcase connecting onto Creme, but they don't quite find the snare. TES retreating well, getting the initial objective. Their fate now tempered. JackeyLove locked up. Surely the Sivir falls here, but it's a quick flash back, and G2 walk away empty-handed.
Anti-synergy there. Labrov ultimate actually hits the stasis onto Jackie just as Broken Blade got a taunt onto him. So then it times out, and as soon as they get out of the ultimate, he can flash away. So G2 are unable to catch anyone on the way out.
You can see that G2 was so hesitant to force that engage. Now Hung may have found a nice angle onto Caps.
Caps, no realm warp, and they know it. Kanavi here as well, the Profane Hydra, a lot of potential burst damage, move in, reset on the blade, Terra shape, grasp to try and finish it, the Ishtal's edge, knocking down Caps.
And just like that, Top Esports have eliminated the goal difference. All of that advantage that G2 had managed to build disappears as 369 with a 1.4k goal lead over Broken Blade. Hans Summer still with his advantage, but JackeyLove not looking as weak as he did in the early game, as Kanavi and Creme are making magic happen on the Rift.
Yeah, I mean, TS, they wipe out the gold lead. They also put a stop to the dragon stacking, stealing that one, and putting themselves into a very comfortable position to now be able to pull off this big wombo combo of a team comp that they do have for themselves, especially with 369 having such a gold lead here from the early stages. The Rumble Ultimate, since you're going to have Alistar, Yone, and Qiyana setting up this Rumble Ultimate as solo AP, 369 is going to burn.
And 369 building for the team with the Cursed Orb, getting that healing reduction so that SkewMond can't be this massive threat. Again, so much physical damage, 369 the one source of magic damage. He knows how important it is to stop SkewMond from running amok, even if the initial dive looks promising for TES.
Yeah, I mean, even though Jackie's super far behind, they've got a Blade of the Ruined King Yone and a Leandri's Rumble to be able to roast through the Mundo here. SkewMond did go very heavily into armor, both the crit reduction as well as the tabbies, and getting the minus damage on auto attacks. So 369 still gonna kind of burn right through him.
Difficult position for G2 now. You have to feel that the ease of execution favors Top Esports. Hansama really needs to be on his A game, cannot afford to get caught again. You highlighted it already, but JackeyLove from being zoned away for so many of the early levels to now comfortably catching waves and farming in the mid lane. Definitely not what G2 were planning for, as Kanavi caught out for a moment. Ulti keeps him safe, connects onto two! G2 thought they had the angle, but TES turn it right back. Hong going through the wall, looking for the setup. Initial binding going down, Redemption coming in to heal up G2 as they're ready to turn it back. Broken Blade there to cover both teams. Fist fighting for control. Ulti in from Creme goes completely wide. He's forced to snap back, but the root is still there. G2 holding on.
Kanavi keeps finding these crazy plays. That should have been the bot lane of G2 dead once again. But the Bard just barely getting them to safety. The Blast Cone just barely getting them to safety. Hung, he steps a little too far, and it ends up costing him. But my goodness, Kanavi continues to be terrifying.
I think this is the second time where Hung really wanted to kill Labrov and went for a kill, support versus support, but ends up giving over one. And G2 take the opportunity to start up the Otacon. I mean, they've got the earlier route over here, much quicker approach for G2. TES, it might have to be a steal. Know that Qiyana with Rock Element, though, is so good at stealing objectives.
Waiting on that cooldown for the Terra shape so you can get the double Q off. 4K.
Don't let him in.
Does he want to risk the 50-50? The answer is yes, but SkewMond connects with the smite, secures the Otacon for G2.
That's huge. That's flash off of Kanavi as well. No flash on the Qiyana. And went in with Grass, hoping that the invisibility is going to buy him time to get a better smite. Timing for himself. Getting the kill, getting the Otacon, and getting that flash, all critical wins for G2.
An ambitious play comes through from Kanavi. It ends up falling short, but G2 find themselves with an advantage once again. Game 1 was Top Esports in full control from start to finish. Game 2, G2 get out the gates with a really nice lead, but Top Esports are punishing these positioning mistakes from G2, finding picks where they can. Now, though, it feels like with the Otacon gone, we're kind of in this neutral mid-game where it'll ultimately come down to execution from both sides. Hans Summer is so fed, working towards what I imagine will be the Infinity Edge. And once he gets it, my goodness, will this Lucian be scary.
That he will, as Hung cut out for a brief moment, but it looks like he's turned it back onto Labrov. Thought the portal would keep him safe, but it did not. Mundo passive removed, won't be able to pick up the canister. Means SkewMond is vulnerable. Heart Zapper there, forced to use the maximum dosage, starting to heal out. The taunt still connects onto Creme, but an excellent equalizer to zone away Han Sama. Healing reduction does mitigate some of it. This is about half HP. TES now retreating. They've burned so many ultimates. Keep your eye on the Fate Sealed. Creme on the flank, but he's not going to be able to get much done. His Caps is already looking to take things over, but the ulti still hits! Creme in the clutch, trading 1-for-1. SkewMond and Caps blinking health bars against 4 standing members of TES.
Incredible triangulation of the engage from Creme onto Han Sama, taking him out. Caps is the fearsome member of G2 still left alive, but with the teleport, TES will force them off the objective.
Labrov inbound with the Tempered Fate, but it does look like TES will tie up the Drakes. 369, not going to follow the magical journey. But TES getting what they came for, securing their second Ocean Drake of the game, as G2 forced to retreat to the top side of the map.
G2, they need to be so much more aware of Top Esports' position on the map. Caps, he's setting up a bit of a trap here, looking to see if he can catch out Kanavi. But remember, that play started with Labrov just dying ahead of the Dragon fight. He's sitting with SkewMond thinking that he's safe enough to get this vision control, but after he gets caught, it then just becomes a guaranteed numbers advantage. It did cost Kanavi his ultimate, which then made this ensuing fight very, very difficult for them to play. And great patience from G2, but ultimately Creme will find such a masterful ultimate that ends up swinging the fight in Top Esports' favor.
Yeah, Jackie though has to flash away. Caps trying to follow with his own. It actually got kind of dicey for them at the end, but here it is. Creme, he finds it, ease over, ultimates through, and he trades his life for Han Sama, allowing the rest of TES to control the bottom side of the river.
Frustration on the face of Broken Blade, a very close fight. Navori Flicker Blades were there for Hans. In a more extended skirmish, probably could have dashed around, dived through so many of those cooldowns, and put his gold advantage to work. But his lead starting to shrink. Still 1,000 in his favor. Still an extra BF sword. But keeping my eyes on 369, the Rumble continues to benefit as JackeyLove has been caught out. SkewMond finding him. Kanavi's ulti not doing a damn thing. Mundo going where he pleases. The ulti from the Bard not quite connecting. Ulti from the Rumble, the equalizer, doing a bit of damage back, but the pick in favor of G2.
When in doubt, look to pick off JackeyLove. It is a tried and true strategy. G2 early position into the brush of the red quadrant of the jungle rewards them.
He's catching Nu. Hong's able to find the knockup, working through. Extra damage onto SkewMond now going through. Creme is going to follow the snapback coming in, but Han Sama's already gotten a kill in return. SkewMond is just healing too much. The armor, the crit reduction paying off. Creme flashing out to safety. He found the angle in the previous fight. He will not today. Hung getting run down in G2's jungle. G2 found the initial pick. TES thought they could do one better, but they absolutely could not.
Ring around the rosy.
Hex Blast goes over. Running. Okay, he's dead. And Hung, I gotta be honest, it's been a rough one. You said it earlier, but just continues to make these little mistakes as now 369 is in jeopardy. Shut down on his head, a bounty that G2 are eager to collect. 369 doing a lot of damage, but crucially the taunt turning away from Caps. Caps now 3 kills.
Honestly, this pace, G2 are snowballing. They're turning it up. They're creating some chaos here, and that has resulted in a 2,000 gold lead being retaken for them. It starts with making an early positional play into TES jungle during the reset. That rewards them the kill onto JackeyLove, and then step by step, they kind of take more and more, and now they want the biggest prize of Summoner's Rift.
Oh no, this is a scary objective start. All of Europe is holding onto the edge of their seat as Kanavi is in the area.
Second blue trinket
come down.
Spots it out. SkewMond, of course, happy to tank up a lot of this damage. A massive risk to be certain. Tempered Fate available. TES group. Labrov holding onto it as long as he can. Kanavi, the grass blade ready to go. Stun onto JackeyLove connecting. Caps immediately going to follow. Redemption coming through, but it's not enough. Once again, Jackie is picked off. Creme coming in with the Q3, but it's just too late. Kanavi trying to make his way out, but he isn't able to grab the grass blade, and down he goes. G2 might not get the Baron yet, but they sure as hell take the fight.
A scary situation that is masterfully handled. G2 find a nice turn onto Top Esports, who don't 5 or 5 members. They put the pressure onto Kanavi, they get the pick onto JackeyLove, and they're looking to secure their first Baron of the series.
What a domino effect for G2. and picking off the Rumble in the side lane results in the pressured 5v4 at Baron. They get all the kills, they get the Baron. Vedius, you can breathe a sigh of relief.
The pick onto JackeyLove. He steps up a little too far. Caps locks him down. Hansama's positioning. He's so aware of the threat of Kanavi. He's already fallen prey to Creme once before. He doesn't want to allow it this time around. Labrov, his ultimate wasn't the best, but his Q's made up for it as he allowed G2 to chase down their opposition. And now they're looking to equalize this series if they can use this Baron to close things out.
A lot of stoic faces in the G2 coach room. One not so stoic face in Ramaz. G2, 5,000 gold. TES were doing everything they could to bring it back. They found 1 or 2 good plays to shut down Hansama, but G2 righted the ship, have remained in control, finding picks on Hung, finding picks on JackeyLove, back-to-back across multiple skirmishes, and now looking to leverage the most they can from this Baron, from this Red Bull Baron power play.
Yeah, and they're so tanky at the moment. You know, Ryze scaling up very nicely, Mundo scaling up very nicely for them, and they have the coverage of these counter-engaged champions we talked about with Galio and the Bard here ready for themselves, so they can safely play 2 lanes very easily with a lot of extra disengage and coverage for themselves. That allows you really impressive use of a Baron buff that guarantees towers will be destroyed, gold will be accrued for G2, and the poise that they have showed on stage here after being demolished in game number 1 results in G2 knocking on the base of TES here, only 27.5 minutes into the game.
Oh, that Sivir starting to hurt a little bit. Caps brought down to less than 50% HP. SkewMond largely unfazed by that poke, but Top Esports haven't quite given up just yet. The game is not over. Dragon is alive.
Waiting in the darkness, Q3 from Creme connecting nicely. Redemption to heal him back up, 350 additional HP to hold the line here as G2 knocking down the tier 2s, but haven't broken the base quite yet. Maybe hoping to catch TES off guard.
No Baron buff on Caps means that he's not going to have those empowered minions. He's going to clear out this wave, but that mid tower is soon to fall as G2 continue their siege on the bot side of the map.
TES using the equalizer to clear this wave, knowing there's only 1 more coming in mid, 1 more coming in bot before the Baron will fade away. SkewMond chunked out. A nice magical journey to usher G2 into the mid lane, out-rotating TES for a brief moment does mean the inhibitor should fall. TES, I think, need to give this one up. Cannot afford to force a fight, especially with the Qiyana at this angle. No big walls to play around. So hard for TES to get that 5v5.
Yeah, honestly, I think TES just have to play damage control. G2 are keeping up the pressure, though. These Bards rotating everybody over to bottom side, and they're going to get this tower as well.
Tower flashing from Hong, looking for the 3-man immediate vault, but he's only going to connect to the Broken Blade. Creme cannot find the ulti, but SkewMond sure as hell can't find the back line. G2 moving through, but Kanavi found the shutdown. In the meantime, the healing now going in. It's a jungler down, but Hansama is dead as well. JackeyLove in 369. Needing now to hold the line. 369 moving through. JackeyLove in the mid lane. TES a bit over-eager on the force there. G2 happy to punish as Creme manages to find the knockup. Continuing to poke at G2. And in the end, it'll only be the second inhibitor as G2 set their sights on their 3rd dragon.
I mean, credit to Kanavi. The fact that he's able to continuously find these kills onto Hansama speaks to how good he is on this champion. But the gold gap, I feel, is just too big right now. Flashes came through from G2 to disengage from that scenario. The Galio ultimate to zone the rest of Top Esports away meant that G2 could secure their 2nd inhibitor. They'll put themselves onto solve point, and they'll hold on to the lead for now.
Yeah, TES, they don't have damage to kill Mundo at the moment. They either need more damage out of Jackie or they need some more damage from Creme. Here's another look at the engage. They only basically got Broken Blade, and Broken Blade still escaped and came back for the re-engage on top of Mundo. That being said, Kanavi's still able to find his target, killing the Lucian at the very least, and ensuring that TES at least don't lose their Nexus right now. But still, it's such a power play for G2, you know, for the mid stage of this game. They can look forward to that Baron that's even before the Dragon Soul.
The best news out of that play from Top Esports is Hung got 3 flashes instantly. Hans, Labrov, and Broken Blade all taken off the board. Caps also used his flash, chasing down 369 in the base, which means that Top Esports, if they can find another pick, maybe they can still salvage some of this game.
And they do now have the Infinity Edge for Creme, so the Yone is going to be more threatening. Jackie, of course, because he's been put so far behind, needs a lot more time to be able to really catch back up. And so G2, they're not going to give him that time. 2 inhibitors down, and they're coming for the 3rd.
G2 looking to keep the pressure up. 369 uses the equalizer to clear the wave, and they've got Creme split pushing in a side lane. Knowing that G2 don't really have the threat to full commit here.
They have the Bard ultimate. They could use it if they want to try and force a dive, but G2's engage isn't the quickest. They are quite reliant on SkewMond just running at his opposition. Maybe Caps landing a root. Good damage comes down onto SkewMond.
Another wave here. Creme finally going to reset, ready to engage in the fight. Two-man ulti coming in from Kanavi, and Labrov is on the way out, calling over the wall, taking down Hong as 369 also trying to fire back. The Flame Spitter doing a decent amount of work, but here comes the Realm Warp. Kanavi ulti already gone. He's got no course. Make it out of this one. The Grass Blade keeps him standing, though, crucially. Flashing from Creme. This time, Ansama's got the movement. Manages to make it out of the way with the Relentless Pursuit, and now Caps chasing down the remaining members of TES G2, firing back in this game, too. And they may just look to end it here.
G2 bounce back in a masterful way. They stick to their comfort.
Kanavi, decent start to the fight, but it's just not enough. You said it, Vedi. A masterful bounce back. We had questions. G2 had answers. The series tied at 1-1.
Beautiful game plan. Attack the bottom lane. G2 just destroyed Jackie and Hung.
They need to secure a few more kills before they round things out. Smiles, handshakes on the face of Broken Blade. He was kind of left out to dry this game. But hey, he did what he could. He landed what taunts he could where he can. But this game really was very much about that bottom lane finding that early lead. Let's hear what the analysts have to say.
G2 strike back. They don't let Top Esports run all over them, and they do it with Lucian, question mark? These are just one of the things we're going to talk about in this segment. But first and foremost, though, Azael, I'll go to you first. There was, I think, resilience from both teams, perhaps also some snafus from both teams, but a very big win and recovery from G2.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a massive win from G2. You know, going back towards this Mundo, work for them against FlyQuest, I think it has been a really successful pick.